Hello there, good evening. Well, I have to admit that the last video about passive voice was packed with so much information, so much to process and to learn. And as we are not sponges, we don't absorb knowledge or data as easily as we would like. It's important to reinforce some concepts about the passive voice. Well, I expect that this lesson will be easier for you because I will explain some of the topics I have carried over again, but it won't be as difficult as the last one. We will focus on examples and how the passive voice can be used. It's all about examples. Provided that you understand the sentences and how they relate to the passive voice, the meaning they carry, and how to use active and passive voice to convey an idea that you want to express. That's the most important thing. Okay, so let's get going. Let's start. I was going to go to bed, but I was sleepy. As a matter of fact, I was tired because today was hard. But after taking a shower, it can be said that I missed the momentum, right? So, okay. Let's start with some examples, with one example, right? The class has been canceled. Okay, just something that maybe I haven't talked about. When you have, for example, this verb is cancel, right? The verb to cancel. Just a parenthesis, just before. It's the same logic as the verb to travel. When you add ing or add ed in this case, you know what it means, right? It's the simple past, right? It's a suffix that means that the verb is in the simple past, and ing mostly means the continuous form, mostly. Why do I say mostly? Because many situations ing turns a verb into a noun, right? For example, I carry my belongings. Belongings is a noun, right? It's written in ing form, but is not a verb. It has a noun meaning. It's not a verb, but you add ing. So not necessarily ing conveys an idea of a continuous tense. Okay, so let's get back to the example. The class has been canceled. You remember, I'm sure of it, you remember that you use the present continuous or the present perfect when you want to introduce some new information. So, for example, you're talking to a friend and you see, oh, you know what? The class has been canceled. Did you know that? So it's a new information that your friend doesn't know about. So you want to express an idea that something is happening and maybe other people don't know it yet. Okay, so is this the active or passive voice? The class has been canceled. The class, is it the doer of the action? No. The class itself doesn't do anything. The class is the receiver of the action. It's a passive voice we have right here. Has been canceled. Remember that last video I told you that the passive voice always have the verb to be. The verb to be is present in the passive voice. And the passive voice always have a verb tense. It can be in the present, in the past, the present perfect, and so forth, right? So let's get back. We have here a mix, right? We have the present perfect. Why? Because we have has and canceled, which is a verb that is in the past participle. Cancel, canceled, canceled. And why does it have double L? That's this example I have right here. The parentheses I have given. When you have a sequence in a verb that involves consonant, vowel, and consonant, the last syllable of the word, you have C is a consonant, E is a vowel, L is a consonant. So when adding ing or ed, you have to double the last letter before adding ing or before adding ed. That's the reason that you write canceled with double L, okay? So pay attention with the spelling. So this is the present perfect tense. The class has been canceled. You understood? Who canceled the class? I don't know. The school, probably. The teacher. The director. I don't know. Now, let's see. I want to turn this into inactive voice. So let's see something. The present perfect tense is present here, right? In the passive voice, I have the present perfect. So in the active voice, which verb tense we will have? The present perfect. So it's a hint that I've given the last video, that the verb tense that comes in the passive voice comes in the active voice. So what's the difference? The active voice doesn't carry the verb to be. The passive voice always have the verb to be. In this case, as it is in the present perfect, the verb to be has to be also in the past participle. Okay, has been canceled. So let's write the sentence in the active voice. For example, the school has canceled the class. The school has canceled the class. Not the school itself, because the school is not a person, but you know what I mean, right? The teacher, the other person who represents the school has canceled the class. Why is this the active voice and not passive voice? First of all, you don't have the verb to be together with this verb tense. This is a simple present perfect tense, which is have plus a verb in the past participle. The subject is the doer of the action, right? It's the doer of the action, and the class is the object of the sentence, who suffers, between quotations, the action, right? So you see, it's easy. Let's see another example now in another verb my bedroom had been cleaned by my mother. Here I want my sentence to have the preposition by, right? By my mother. In Portuguese, we used to say that this part of the sentence is called agente da passiva, right? It's when you study grammar in Portuguese, it's like this, so that you understand what it means. But you can also understand that my mother is the doer of the action. So is this the passive voice or active voice? Passive voice. So let's check the characteristics of the passive voice. First, we have, which verb tense we have here? Had cleaned. Had cleaned is the past perfect. But be aware that, is it a simple past perfect tense? Remember, the past perfect tense is used when you have two actions in the past. The first action is the past perfect and the second action is the simple past. Okay? So that's the meaning. And normally, when we have a past perfect, a pure past perfect, let's say like this, a pure past perfect, for example, she had gone mad, for example. She had gone mad. Why is it a pure? Pure is my, I have just come up with this idea, right? Why is it a pure past perfect? It doesn't exist this such denomination, right? You just ignore. But just to understand, as a means to understand better, when you have had plus a verb in the past participle, so this is the structure that describes the past perfect, right? Here we have a structure of the past perfect, but it's, how can I say, contaminated by the verb to be. The verb to be is in the middle of the verb tense. So it's a past perfect which also have the verb to be together. The verb to be. And when you have the verb to be, or when the verb to be in the middle of a past perfect tense or in the middle of a present perfect tense, what happens with the verb to be? It comes in the past participle. Has been canceled, had been cleaned, right? So that's it. Now let's turn this sentence into the active voice. So remember, the verb tense that comes in the passive voice also comes in the active voice. So as I used the past perfect here, in the active voice I also have to use the the past perfect. Which is the subject of the sentence? My mother. So my mother. My mother is the doer of the action. In the active voice, the doer of the action is the subject of the sentence. So my mother had cleaned my bedroom. Understand? Very straightforward, right? It's there is no mystery to that. Okay. So now let's see the present continuous. The present continuous. Let's see. Let me see. she is doing her homework. Just a parenthesis here. Maybe I will make a video, I will make a video about the differences between do and make. But just one example, when you say do the laundry, do harm. So there are certain expressions that mean fazer in English. Because in Portuguese, it's easier, right? It's easier to use because you only use one verb to express a variety of ideas. In English, no, it's not possible. You have to memorize certain combinations of which make expressions. For example, is it possible to use make homework? No. It's always do homework. It's always do the laundry. Not make. It's always do harm. Or, for example, I have made a mistake. Make a mistake. Make a mistake is always used this way because it's not possible to use do a mistake. No, make a mistake. So just a parenthesis to show some examples, but probably in the future we will see more about it. And do I have to worry to memorize all these situations, all these expressions? I can't say it's not just memorizing expressions. You have to see the expressions in context, in sentences, and the more you see the expression you want to memorize, the easier and more natural it becomes to memorize. So don't worry about it. I have never worried about many expressions. Phrasal verbs, for example, and idiomatic expressions. No, don't worry about it. It's important to read, right? The more you read or listen to expressions in English, no matter if they are American or British or Australian English, doesn't matter. As long as you keep learning, it's okay, right? Because it makes your English become more natural. So she is doing her homework. Is it a passive voice or active voice? It's active. Why is it active? I have she is doing. Remember this verb tense? It's present continuous. I guess present continuous was my first video, right? I'm almost sure of it. The present continuous is compounded by a combination of two verbs. It's the verb to be plus a verb followed by ing. The verb to be can be am, are, or is, and the main verb with ing. First, it's the active voice because the subject is the doer of the action, right? It's the active voice also because I'm using a pure present continuous tense, the conventional structure here, and her homework is the object. So everything is placed accordingly, right, as a conventional sentence, right? As you first study English, you study a conventional sentence. Now let's turn into the passive voice. So this will be the last one. So her homework. Her homework. Remember that the verb to be is used here. The verb to be has to be in the same verb tense as the active voice. In the active voice, you use the present continuous, right? So in the passive voice, you use the verb to be in the present continuous. So what would be the verb to be in the present continuous? The homework is being. Is being. This is the present continuous. It's the verb to be in the present continuous. What's the structure of the verb continuous? It's the verb to be plus the main verb followed by ing. Consider the verb to be here. To be plus ing. So the homework is being done by her. Why do I use done here? Do you know? I'm going to explain. The past participle is necessary here. In the passive voice, you always have the past participle. It's necessary to use. Is being done. Let's see the other example here. Has been canceled. Right? The past participle is also present here. And here I have the verb to be in the present perfect. Has been. Here I have the verb to be in the past perfect. Had been. Plus a verb in the past participle. Okay, so it's a pattern that you have to memorize. So the homework is being done by her. By her. Her. Why do I use her instead of she? Is it possible to use she here? No, because she. A personal pronoun, it would be she, right? She is. But here is an objective pronoun. So after prepositions, if you use a pronoun, you have to use, for example, me, you, him, her, it, us, you in the plural form, them. Okay? There are so many details. So summarizing, let's summarize to end this video. Summarizing, I misspelled. Summarizing. Active, passive voice. The verb tense in the active voice is brought to the verb to be. What does it mean? It means that if I have, this is very important, right? I guess this summarizes this lesson. If you have, for example, present continuous here, now simple present is in the passive voice, you use the verb in the same verb tense. For example, she is, let me see an example. She buys, she studies English. She studies English, okay? Passive voice. What is the verb tense? Studies. It's the simple present. So the passive voice, English, is studied by her. So the verb tense of the active voice becomes the verb tense of the verb to be in the passive voice. Okay? Plus a verb in the past participle. So this pattern comes with every structure. For example, if I say, she is studying English. Just to end this video, right? I guess it's the longest video I have ever recorded. She is studying English. The verb tense, present continuous. Now I turn into the passive voice, English. So the verb tense, present continuous here is carried over to the verb to be. The verb to be in the present continuous is being. English is being. Is plus the main verb with ing. Is being studied by her. It's always like this. The passive voice, the verb to be is in the same verb tense as the verb in the active voice, plus a verb in the past participle. Okay? It's how I memorized this structure. Maybe you will find an easier way. But not, to be honest, I don't think you will need to memorize unless you take a grammar test, like TOEFL, like, anyway, any international, TOEIC, international test, right, English test, or you are studying grammar, or you like grammar, as I do. So it's important to know the difference, how to make one verb tense turn into another, and so forth. Okay, it was not complex. I have given many examples. And focus on the examples rather than the explanation itself. I give the explanation to give context, right? Because grammar is important to everyone who studies English. Okay, so bye-bye, good evening, good night. As a matter of fact, I'm going to bed.